Kayla Harrison. How are you, Kayla? I'm so sorry for keeping you waiting.
No worries. Nice to finally meet
It's a
you.
pleasure. Wow, what a firm handshake you have.
Oh,
I appreciate it.
Judo grips.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for coming in, and thank you for being
having me.
patient. There's all kinds of craziness going on in the world of MMA. I don't know if you
I've
know.
noticed, but
Yes.
MMA is kind of a crazy world.
That is
just
true.
On its own.
Did you watch that fight on Saturday? Were you?
Yeah, I was watching a little bit of it.
How do you feel about that call? Do you think he was out or not?
I think, I don't know. I thought he was like spasming a couple of times, like he was like out, but.
Like convulsing?
Yeah, I thought he was convulsing, but I don't know.
So
I've had some arguments with a couple of people and they said he wasn't out, so. I don't know, I have to rewatch it.
Okay.
Live, I thought he was out.
Okay.
But.
Do you like watching this stuff? Like, are you still getting used to this? Are you fully in?
No, I'm in.
Okay.
But. I mean, I don't know. I never liked watching judo either, though. Like, I would never be like, oh, I have to watch the Paris Open. Like, I just like to fight. I just like to win. That's it.
Okay.
I don't like to, like, I'm not a fan. I just want to be the best.
So like when you have a night off, you're not choosing, oh, let me like go back into the vault and watch old MMA fights. You'd rather do something else.
I mean, I'll watch to look at technique and and especially because I'm so new, like there's a lot of stuff I have to learn and a lot of ground I have to cover, but I'm not watching it because I'm like, oh man, do you remember? Like it's not poetry to me.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I understand. So we've talked once before on this program. October of 2016 was the one and only time you've been on the show. Yes.
If you say so.
And of course, for anyone who doesn't know you, I didn't have a lot of time to set you up here. Two-time Olympic gold medalist, first American judoka to win a gold medalist. By the way, I think I may have told you this. My uncle was in the Olympics too. Did I tell you this in
No,
judo?
you didn't.
1976 Olympics, Lebanon.
Yeah.
He was in the Summer Olympic Games in judo. So we have something in common.
76, where was that?
Montreal, my hometown.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, we kind of share a kinship, but that's not why I brought that up. That's when you announced that you were about to, make the transition to MMA.
Yes.
And I think it was just a few days later, WSOF at the time announced that you were joining the team first as an analyst, but then you would eventually make your debut.
Correct.
So we're approaching almost 2 years later, and you have still yet to fight.
Well, I'm going to announce right now that I am going to fight.
Okay.
Yes, June 21st.
This is a thing.
Yes, this is a thing.
I didn't know
happening.
That.
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Tell us, please.
So I've been waiting for a long time to fight. First it was more me. I just wanted to get my feet wet, get in there, see if I liked getting punched in the face. And now that I've established that I do, we've sort of been waiting for the PFL to get their stuff together. Yes. So their stuff is together. Their first card is June 7th at Madison Square Garden. Yep. So I'm going to fight on the second card, June 21st in Chicago.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is a done deal.
It's done. It's happening.
And who's your opponent?
I'm not supposed to say because a couple of girls have already pulled out. So we don't know if this girl's going to. So 2 girls have actually agreed and then pulled out? Yeah. Really? Yeah. Who were they? Can you tell us that? I'm not going to talk. Okay. I'm not going to. I don't really know. I told him I'll fight. I don't care who I fight. Do you believe they pulled out due to an injury, like a real reason, or did they actually look you up? I don't know. I mean, it's tough because I'm 0-0 in MMA. So it's not like I'm going to fight, someone who's 10-0. Right. But I think it's difficult when you have 2 Olympic gold medals behind your name. Like people are kind of like, are you really, an amateur? So I'm not that I'm amateur, but I don't have any pro experience. So you don't have amateur experience either. I don't have any amateur experience. Did you consider taking an amateur fight just to get the whole thing under? I didn't really know, I didn't know how it worked, So I was just like, I finished with the Olympics and I knew that I was done. I knew that I wasn't going to go for another one. And I was kind of I was a little bit lost in my life. Like I didn't have a goal. I didn't have something to wake up for. And I was struggling. You were depressed, right? Is that fair? Very depressed. Very depressed. No, very depressed. It's like, I don't know, like post-Olympic depression is a real thing. It's like, I think sort of like you're not coming home from war because that's much more traumatic, but it's like when you're a type A person and you're an Olympic athlete and you train your whole life for one moment, even if you win, when you come, like that high is so high that when you come off of that, it's like you're low. You just don't know what to do with yourself. So I was not training, I wasn't working out, I was just like not setting an alarm, was like laying in bed all day, every day, watching like, stupid TV shows. And I talked to Jimmy and Jimmy's my judo coach and his father, Big Jim, and I talked to them about it and they said they really didn't want me to do MMA. They just felt like I should move on with my life. But Big Jim's also kind of really old school where he thinks like, I'm 27 and I'm not married with kids, so I have to be a nun. Okay. But I just said, I didn't know if I wanted to do it, but I didn't feel like my athletic career was over. And I was a little bit lost. And then Ali, who I'm sure you talk to all the time, Ali.
I think, yes, I am familiar with him.
Got me a deal with the World Series. Mm-hmm. And they said, you don't have to fight if you don't want to, but if you decide this is what you want to do, we have a home for you.
Okay.
And then I started training, and now I'm training with one of the best teams in the country. And
who are you training with?
I'm just moved to American Top Team.
In Coconut Creek?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
So like your corner for this fight on June 21st, who will it be?
Probably Big Jim.
Okay.
Because he's like the head, he's the Don.
Yeah.
And then Mike Brown.
Yeah.
And then I'm doing a lot of striking with Coach Daya, so probably Coach Daya.
Wow. So this is set. When did you move there?
Like a little over a month ago.
Okay, and how do you like it so far?
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I went, I sort of did like the Goldilocks thing. So like I went to New Jersey. I trained with like all of Frankie Edgar's crew, like Ricardo and Mark Henry and all of those guys. And I loved it. And I love them. I think they're fantastic. But it's like the fit was a little bit tough for me. I think there's not a lot of girls.
Yeah.
There's not a ton of bodies my size. Then I went to Vegas and trained at Extreme and went to the UFC PI and all that stuff.
Oh, wow.
And it was great, but again, not quite right. And then I went down to American Top Team to train for a week. And it was the first time really since I started doing MMA that I just felt like, okay, this is where I belong. Like, this is what I'm meant to be doing. Like, I felt like I was making progress every day, and the practices were hard. There's so many people on the mat. The coaching staff is so professional. And I'm there with, two of the best girls in the world, train there every single day. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, like having someone like Amanda, who is, and Joanna, who are both such superstars, like when I was younger, I had Ronda, and I was always watching Ronda. And, the Pedros always gave Ronda all the attention. And I was like, I want that. I want to be the superstar. I want to be the golden girl. So having like actual people in front of me who I can look at every day and say, that's where I want to be, is a really positive thing for me.
And you will be competing at 145?
Yep.
When you competed in the Olympics, it was around like 171, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how difficult?
I'm like 160 right now.
Right now you are? Okay,
yeah.
So you're much smaller than you were in the Olympic Games. I can tell, like even by the pictures. But will that be tough? Like, when's the last time you weighed 145?
Yeah, it was probably, in high school.
Okay. Are you worried about that?
I mean, I am, but everyone around me is like, oh, you're only 160? That's perfect. Easy peasy, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, we'll see.
You have a nutritionist that you're working with?
Actually, I work a lot with Clint Wattenberg at the UFC Institute.
Yes.
When I went to Vegas to train, Ali got me in with them, and they did like a bunch of tests.
Even though you're not a UFC fighter. Look at you. Royalty.
I don't know. I mean, 2 gold medals helps, I think.
It does,
but,
yes.
So he's been helping me out a lot, and I did, I've talked to a bunch of a lot of people want to help me in this transition.
Amazing.
So I've had a lot of help, which is good.
My understanding is, so PFL, their big thing is that they have these tournaments and the season, all this stuff, but you're not involved in a tournament. This is like the Kayla Harrison show. Is that, you're the only one, right?
That's kind of how I like it.
But that's true, right? Is that not true?
No, well.
There's no 145-pound women's tournament?
No, there's not this year, but the goal is for there to be next year.
There is, okay.
Yeah, we just have to, I mean, they're undertaking a lot.
Sure.
They're completely changing, the complete rebranding, all new ownership. Mm-hmm. They're creating this tournament series. They already have, I think, 10 weight classes that they're trying to get going. So $1 million for each weight class. They have to make all of those rosters. And I think that trying to add a women's division when they had never really had a women's division before, on top of doing all that, was like a little too much for them. So next year.
Okay.
$1 million.
Why then fight at 145? If it's kind of like a showcase for you, your debut, why not make the transition easier, maybe 155?
Well, we had talked about me fighting 155 for my first fight, and I think maybe it might still be something that happens, but there is no 155 division for women in MMA. Did you know that?
I mean, there have been 155-pound fights.
Isn't that interesting?
There have been like one-offs.
Yeah, but I want to be the best.
Yeah, but this is the Kayla Harrison show, like I said. So do the debut, 155, get it out of the way. I mean,
well, I'll talk to my people and I'll have my...
What's the point?
That's a great idea.
Why cut to 145?
Yeah. Why?
What's the point?
Because women, first of all, like there's barely any 145. Any women at 145.
But if you can find someone to take the fight, just do it at 155.
I would.
As you transition down.
I don't care.
Okay.
I'll fight at 155. I'll fight at 165. Are you kidding me?
Nice.
I'd love to be able to go back to my 6,000 calories a day diet. I miss it.
What are you at now?
How many calories?
Yeah.
I don't like count calories or anything. It's just more about like what I eat and when I eat it. Like it's a lot less protein because my body builds muscle really easily. So more fat, less carbs, like a high fat percentage diet. So.
Now, what about, so I'm assuming you've sparred before, right?
Yes.
Do you like to get hit in the face?
I mean, I'm not like.
Yay. You're not that.
Are you? Is anybody?
I've never had the pleasure of sparring someone.
Why? I mean, you talk about it all the time.
I know. Isn't that amazing?
I feel like that should happen.
No.
You know, judo in Japanese means the gentle way. So maybe you should just start with judo.
Different. Okay, fair enough.
Like go get thrown around a little bit.
It's in my blood.
And then go from there.
I'd probably be, and you see his nose?
I know.
His nose would
Everyone
break in
gives me a hard time about my nose. They say that it's definitely going to get broken.
Has it been broken yet?
In judo, but not in MMA.
Okay, that's good. But is it susceptible to being broken?
I think so, yeah. Okay. I got my first bloody nose like 2 weeks ago. So that was fun.
From a punch?
Yeah.
Okay. Sparring?
Cool. Yeah.
And so what is it like getting punched?
I mean, I'm not used to it yet, so I still have sort of bad, like not the greatest reactions. But I think once I start to, like the number one thing all of my coaches tell me is like, Kayla, just relax. Like once you relax.
You feel that you're tense?
I feel that I get tired fast. Like conditioning's never been an issue for me. And for whatever reason, like I always feel like I'm out of shape when I spar. Like I'm always like, oh my God, like I'm so tired. And that's just because I'm not relaxed. Like my body's very tense. Yeah. So I have to learn to. You're
not typically a tense competitor. Like when you competed in judo, were you tense?
No, but.
It's the unknown, right?
Yeah, it's the unknown. It's the whole like, it would be like a white belt coming out and trying to do randori or to spar with me, you know? Like, of course they're going to be stiff and rigid and like exhausted after 30 seconds. So I still have a little bit of that, you know, newness to me.
If there was such a thing as like professional judo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there was a UFC, but for judo, do you feel like you just would have transitioned? Like, are you almost doing this because this is what you have? Like, it's almost like there's no other way to get that out.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
Because this is not something you grew up wanting to do.
No, definitely not. It's never been like my goal.
Yeah.
When I was a child, like I was never like, oh, I want to be.
Yeah.
But I think now that I've started to get into it and now that I've invested so much time.
You're happy with this?
Yeah. No, I can't imagine. Even if I was a millionaire or independently wealthy and like I had no worries and I didn't have to work, I would still be doing what I'm doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes I worried that you were almost being forced to do this.
Yeah, I think at the beginning I was kind of like skittish about it. Like I was like, it's tough too because everyone always is like, well, look at Ronda. You know, like you always have the comparisons. Yeah. So for me, I didn't know. It's so different from the judo world. But I'm kind of loving it. Like I'm kind of starting to become my own person in MMA, if that makes sense. Like in judo, I always had certain expectations. Like everyone sort of is like, this is Kayla, this is the golden girl, this is the poster child. And so I always felt like that's who I had to be. But in MMA, like no one really knows me. Like nobody cares about judo. Nobody cares. Like it's such a small sport in the US. So now I'm sort of just like, I just get to do what I want and like be Kayla. And I'm enjoying it.
Have you watched how other judokas have, I mean, again, you mentioned Ronda, but like there have been others, maybe not obviously as illustrious as you, but who have used their background in judo. Do you study those people a lot?
Yeah, a little bit. I think it's interesting. I always thought that judo was such a good base for an MMA fighter. Like I was like, are you kidding me? It's the best one by far because not only can you take people down, but you know how to submit them. Yep. Whereas like if you're a wrestler, you can take them down, and if you're a boxer, you can't take them down. You can, punch the crap out of them. But judo it's so different from MMA that a lot of the transitions and a lot of the techniques that I used to be really good at, I don't even use. Like stuff that I've never done in my judo career is what I use now in sparring. Which is weird, like foot sweeps.
Yeah.
I was never known for my foot sweeps, but they work like magic.
Wow.
In MMA, so.
But it is something that you know how to do. It just wasn't maybe part of your arsenal.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And I do watch, I used to train with Rick Hahn, so he used to fight for Bellator. He gave me a lot of tips and stuff getting started. I watched Ronda, Cairo Parisian. I watched some of his stuff. Steve Mako is a coach down at ATT, and he did judo when he was younger, and obviously he's an Olympic wrestler. I actually used to fight his sister. Oh, wow. When I was growing up. So, but he's got a lot of really good tidbits and stuff like that for me. And a lot of the jiu-jitsu, like especially Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioners, a lot of them get started with judo. So like there's a lot of crossover, and been getting a lot of help.
Did you ever lose patience with PFL because they were supposed to relaunch in January? You're like, let me.
I mean, I thought my first fight was going to be in February. Okay. So I was frustrated in the sense that this is the longest I've ever gone without competing. Yeah. Since I was 6 years old. I mean, it's been since August of 2016 since I've felt that pressure. Even when I had knee surgery, I was only out for 6 months. So I'm like
jonesing.
I'm antsy. I just want to fight.
Ronda has talked a lot, most famously about she has weird feelings towards the U.S. Olympic team. Resentment, perhaps.
Yeah.
And you've talked about the post-Olympic depression. I don't know if that's necessarily the Olympic team's fault. I think that's something that all athletes experience. But do you see where she's coming from? Do you share any of those feelings as well?
Yeah, well, I think especially the deeper you get into looking at the Olympic movement, sort of the more pissed off you're going to get, especially as an athlete. When I was growing up, I was always just like, oh my God, it's the biggest stage in the world, and it's so pure, and it's all about sport, and it's not, it's about making money. It's when,
Well, you don't make money.
Right. Yeah. While there are athletes in Africa who can't get clean water, sure. It's a joke to me. Or, I my health insurance got cut because I'm no longer competing for Team USA. So now for the first time since I was 16 years old, I have zero health insurance, Wow. And it's just little things like that where you start to really get you don't care about the athletes at all, kind of, which tickles me a little bit. But more than anything, the straw that broke the camel's back for me with the USOC is all the stuff that's happening with the gymnasts and the, just the cover up and the saving my own skin and the refusal to take responsibility for this huge tragedy that has occurred and that they allowed for years. Yeah. For years. That to me is that's the final straw.
I was going to ask you about that because I would imagine it hit close to home because you experienced something, not with the USOC, but early in your judo career, your coach assaulted you as well, right?
Yep. So
multiple times.
Right. So I was sexually abused by my first judo coach from the time I moved to his club when I was 8 years old, and then I finally told my mom when I was 16.
That whole period?
10.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. It's actually I'm glad that you brought it up because I actually just finished, my book just came out 2 days ago. It's called Fighting Back, and it's not like a memoir or anything like that. It's an educational book, but it's written by me and 2 co-authors, and it's sort of it's like a guideline almost for what sexual abuse is. So it goes, I actually, when I was a kid, do you know those books, they're like Civil War soldiers or Depression era, they're diaries, you had to read them in school sometimes, I don't know, for projects, it's basically a diary of a Civil War soldier or a diary of a Depression era, survivor, or they're all
I grew up in Canada, so they didn't expose us to these things.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe some people who are listening know what I'm talking about. Anyways, they're these journals, but they're books.
Okay.
And so when I was a kid, I used to keep journals because I told myself someday I'm going to be famous and someone's going to want to read my journal.
Wow.
So I have all of these journals from during the abuse. So we used those as sort of a guideline. This is what grooming is, and this is what being in the silence looks like, and this is what it looks like after you break the silence, and this is the court process. This is how you can get help. This is how you can talk to your child. This is how you can look to prevent it, So all of these things, we go into detail in the book.
Wow.
And the proceeds from everything that I make goes to my foundation, the Fearless Foundation, which the goal is, to educate our society on what sexual abuse is, and also to help victims turn into not just victims, but survivors and thrivers. So that's available on Amazon. And I'm glad you brought it up, but it just happens everywhere, you know? That's the thing that really pisses me off about it is like, we all sort of think like, oh, you know, I'm not a Boy Scout, so like my kid's not a Boy Scout, so it's not gonna happen here. Or, oh, you know, I'm not Catholic, so like it's not gonna happen to my family. Or I'm not poor, so, you know, no one's ever gonna try and take advantage of my child. But 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys are sexually assaulted by the time they're 18. So that statistic right there tells, and those are just the kids that say something.
Yeah.
Every time I give a speech, every time I go talk about this, every time I talk about my foundation, someone guaranteed will come up to me and say, something similar happened to me when I was a kid and I never said anything. Or, I'm really glad you're sharing your story because hopefully people will have strength to share theirs as well. So I know that the numbers are bigger than that. And I think that a big problem is that we don't talk about it. So that's why I wrote the book. Why did I wait?
Yeah.
When I was a kid?
You waited 6 years or so to tell your parents?
Yeah. Well, I think for me, at first, it was a lot about when it happens that young, sometimes your brain is not, like as a child, your brain is not fully developed. So you don't really, like, I knew something was wrong, but I thought it was love, you know? And then by the time I got to be older, I was like, well, it is wrong, but I was sort of doing like a disassociation thing where I was living 2 lives. So like chemically my brain was altered where I was like, this is my life, and when I'm 18, I'm gonna marry my coach, and this is normal. And like, you sort of have to like, your brain changes in order to survive what you're going through. So you just think it's normal. Like it becomes your state of normal. Even though I was suicidal, even though I was depressed, even though I hated my life and that I was living a lie, I was just like finding a way to deal with it. And also there's all of these factors where it's like, you know, many times the predator will say, well, you won't make it to the Olympics without me. Or if you tell someone, they won't believe you. Or
because you threatened to tell.
I never threatened to tell.
You never did.
I personally didn't, because I didn't think I could. Like, I just never thought, it had never occurred to me until it got to that point where I was really I knew I was either gonna kill myself or I was gonna say something. You know, that's when I finally told my mom what had been going on.
What was the breaking point? Like, what led to that? What was the catalyst?
Well, for me, I had just been like, I was a mess, you know, like I stopped being Kayla. Like I wore sweatpants every day, and he controlled everything. He controlled who I talked to. I dropped out of school so that I could train full time, and I was taking online classes. I was cutting myself. I was like, you know, I was really in a bad place. And I was at lunch one day with our friends, and my coach wasn't there. And someone said to me, oh, Daniel has a girlfriend, basically. My coach had a girlfriend.
Okay. And
I was like, wait a second, what? And so I was like, oh, he has a girlfriend? Perfect. I'm out of this. And so I never said anything. Like I never said, like I never told my mom. I just said, I don't wanna go train there anymore. I wanna be done. And everyone was like, what do you mean? You and Daniel are inseparable. Like, of course you're gonna train there. And I said, no, I'm not. Like, I'm gonna find somewhere else to train. This is all like, it all happened within the span of a month. And then my mom finally was like, well, why don't you want to train there? And I just said, oh, you know, he was inappropriate to me. And she was like, okay. And then my friend at the time, actually, who I was training with, my best friend, we went down to a tournament. I had not been training with Daniel for like maybe a month. And I was like, you know, I was very emotionally like, up and down, up and down, up and down. I can do this. I can live without him. No, I can't. No, I can't. I can. No, I can't. No, I can't. And finally, on the way home from the trip, he just kept asking me, what happened with Daniel? What happened? And I said, oh, he made a move on me, you know? And then he said, no, what happened? What happened? What happened? Finally, I screamed it. We were in the car driving home from Florida, and I just screamed, he's been since I was 12.
Wow.
Or 10 or whatever. I don't remember exactly what I said. And so so he pulled over the car and made me call my mom, and I left her a voicemail. And then she went to his house, actually, with a baseball bat.
Oh, my.
And, was really upset and beat up his truck and stuff. And then she went to the police right away, of course. And Daniel called me that night, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I'll take it all back. I don't know what I was thinking. And he was just like, he's like, you screwed up. One of us isn't going to make it out of this alive. And then the FBI got involved, and he served 10 years in federal prison. He pled guilty, and he just got out, actually, right before the 2016 Olympics. And I decided I had to write a book about all of it so that hopefully people don't have to go through this.
What was the age difference?
He's 17 years older than me, I think.
And has he ever reached out to you since getting out?
No, I think there's still like a restraining order and everything automatically in place.
Crossed paths with him? Or you've never?
No. Well, he was in jail he was in prison until right before the Olympics. But I haven't heard anything.
Okay.
I mean, I know like after the London Olympics, like there were some like stirrings and stuff, like because I started speaking publicly about my story right around the London Olympics. So I don't know if his friends of his or something like reached out and said like she better watch what she says, but
that's it.
Yeah.
And like when you tell the story, when you recount it, and I know you've mentioned it on different platforms, like what is going on? Like are you okay in the sense?
You ask me now after we already went there?
No, I mean, I have so much respect for you for being able to speak about this, and I know it means a lot to a lot of people that you speak about it, and I know you said it, I saw what you wrote for CNN, and it's very important, right? You know that. But do you feel like you've moved on? In other words, you have, I'm sure, relationships with other people. Do you still feel the effects of it, or do you feel like you've done as good a job as possible of moving on from this?
Well, I think with sexual abuse, the one thing that people, even if it's never affected you, the one thing you should always know when you're talking to someone who is a survivor or a family member has been, I think, for me, like one thing, the best way I know how to describe it is like, I don't like look, like I don't have like a missing arm, and I don't I don't have any like physical scars on my body, but there are definitely still scars inside of me. There are definitely still like things, like I'm not perfect, and I have like, I still talk to a therapist once every couple weeks, not because I necessarily need to or I have things that I'm still trying to overcome, but just because I think mental health is really important. And I think especially having to overcome something like sexual abuse, mental health is even more important. But I mean, I don't think, it's always hard like when you talk about something like that, because like I was terrified when the book came out, if I'm being honest, because it's like my deepest, darkest secrets. It's my journal entries. And it's from a time where, I said like, God, please end my life, like those are things that like, it's hard to share for sure. And so every time you give a speech or you talk about it, you feel like you're giving a piece of yourself up a little bit. But then I think about, when I had to write the book and I'm rereading those journal entries of me as a 13-year-old girl begging God to like end her life. And I think about maybe there's a little girl right now who's doing that, and maybe she'll pick up this book and maybe she'll know that she's not alone, and maybe she'll know that she can get help. And that makes it all worth it.
I can't imagine what you were thinking as this whole USA Gymnastics story was. I mean, that must have been.
Yeah. I mean, I wish that I could say I was surprised, but I think we just don't really like, for whatever reason, it's like everyone was surprised with the Jerry Sandusky scandal, and now everyone's surprised with this scandal, and I'm not surprised, because we're always silent about it, and that's how it continues, is because we remain silent, which is why I'm almost even more proud of the gymnasts, because they're just these little army of like survivors, and they're like standing up and they're speaking out, and it's awful that there are so many of them, but it's almost empowering to them because they're not alone and they have each other and they can lean on each other and support each other. And I feel like hopefully, this is going to be the moment we look back and say, okay, things started to change in sports, in our society, in the way we deal with child sexual abuse, in protocol, you know, in legislature, like in everything, in education, I hope.
What an inspiration you are, though, to overcome that and win 2 gold medals and to make history the way you did. I mean, that's amazing.
Thank you. Thanks.
It really is
well, you know, I think I've been really lucky. Obviously, all of that sucks, but I landed on the Pedro's doorstep, and they are...
Did it take a while to trust them? I can't imagine it was seamless,
honestly,
right?
It really didn't.
Really? Wow.
I mean,
they must be really trustworthy people.
I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse, but my best attribute as an athlete is I'm coachable. Okay. You know, like I'm very trusting. Even though I've went through all of that, I'm very trusting. Like even all of my coaches now, like Mike Brown said jump, I'd say how high. You know, like I'm very trusting.
Mike Brown, the best. I mean, this guy.
No, I really love him. I really love him. The more I get to know him, like the more I'm like, no, he's the man.
What an amazing human being that you found as your coach. So well done on that part.
Yeah, and that's how I feel about the Pedros. You know, it's like they couldn't be. I mean, they're amazing coaches. Like in the sport of judo, I don't think there's any better coaches in the world. But as people, also, you know, they're just, and they're good too because they're like. Sort of like good cop, bad cop. Like Jimmy is like very motivating and inspiring, and he's a 2-time Olympic bronze medalist himself and a world champion and a little bit younger. So he's sort of like, he inspires the troops and he like gets everybody amped up and ready to go. And then Big Jim is like, he's just this like bad cop. Like I call him a masshole because he's just like a Massachusetts, he's just an asshole sometimes, you know? But he's like, he cares.
That's his dad, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And Big Jim is like, I mean, at this point in my life, he's like a father figure to me, you know, like he's my best friend. Like He was like a little bit upset that I moved down to Florida, but he comes down and like, he's going to be down there for 10 days when I get back from this trip. And he's like, I want to make sure they've got you doing everything right. And, you know, I don't want them overworking you. Cause he's just like, he's the man. So I ended up on the perfect doorstep to make my dreams come true.
Are you happy that you're debuting in MMA as Ronda's gone? There's no shadow there.
I don't really care.
You don't care?
No, I mean...
You're not the best of friends.
No, it's not that at all. I mean, we're fine. I think...
There's no one you have to really compare yourself to. I mean, of course, initially, I feel like the comparisons will be there.
Right.
But it's not like you have to run neck and neck.
2 gold medals is 2 gold medals, though, isn't it?
That's true.
So.
Well said. Do you watch her now in WWE?
I didn't get a chance to watch, but I heard she did really good.
Are you surprised that she's doing this?
I don't know.
Are you surprised she left?
I'm happy that she's happy.
Okay.
You know, I want her to be happy. She deserves that. I think everybody does. So if that's what she wants to do, she should do it. You know?
I guess the question was, were you surprised that she left, you know, as quickly as she did?
Maybe. I don't know. It's hard because, I mean, one of the big, you know, sayings in judo is fall down 7, stand up, fall down 7 times, stand up 8. So I always sort of just assume that like no matter what, you're gonna get back up, you're gonna keep fighting. Not talking shit, not saying that that's not what she's doing, but I just like that's sort of instilled in you as a judo player from a young age. So I don't know. I think I was a little surprised, yeah.
Is there anything Olympic athletes can do to avoid the post-Olympic depression, or is that just inevitable?
Man, I don't know.
Because you know what's amazing? When we spoke in October of 2016, that was at that point, I guess, 2.5 months removed.
Mm-hmm.
So
Did I say I was depressed to you back then?
You did not.
Oh, okay.
No,
I was faking
it. You did very well. Or did it not hit you that quickly?
No, I was super depressed.
You were super depressed?
Yeah, I was depressed like in the Olympic Village, like after I fought.
Really? Like the moment?
I won my medal. Well, first off, I won. I got off the mat and like you go back through like the presser and like they're like, "Are you gonna do MMA?" And I'm like, I don't know. That. Like, leave me alone. And then
you were actually kind of critical of MMA. You said you didn't like.
Yeah, I did. I talked mad shit about it.
It was cool. Yeah, I appreciated it.
I mean, I still feel that way. Like, I still hate that that's sort of how you have to be.
You don't have to be.
No, not everyone is, but
people are sort of drawn to that. Yes.
People love it. It's still much more of an entertainment than.
Sure.
But I've also learned, and I can say I was wrong in the sense that like it is the most pure form of like testing yourself. I feel like that there is in sport, period. Like judo is great and I loved it and obviously changed my life and made me who I am. But at the end of the day, it's still like there's rules, there's regulations, there's like a lot of, and like when you step in a cage and they lock that door behind you, like this is really, you're going to find out what you're made of, which I love. Like I didn't realize that until I started doing it. But like, I love to test myself. I love a challenge. I love to like find out if I have what it takes. So for me, that part I love. I don't love the entertaining aspect. I don't love the like even like they were talking, I was talking to someone today, like, oh, my stylist, and she was like, oh, we have to figure out like what you're gonna wear for fight week, da 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 da. And I was like, no, we don't. Like, I'm gonna fight. Like, I'm gonna show up in sweatpants and I'm gonna fight. Like, that's not really, I don't know. That part of it, I'm not so
Are you worried that you're going to be forced to talk smack, or that people won't, jump on the Kayla Harrison MMA bandwagon if you don't do that sort of thing? Are these things that you think about now or not really?
I just want to train and be the best I can and let my talking happen, be so good they can't ignore you.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I want.
Are you worried that there's not enough competition? Like Chris Cyborg, right?
Yeah.
That has been something that's plagued her. She can't find people who are as good as her. She has to fight either, smaller 135ers. She has to kill herself to get down to 140. She can't make 135. Are you afraid that there are just not that many 145ers who will bring out the best in you?
I haven't really thought about it. I'm still so new and I'm still so green, but, I want to be the best undisputed. I want everyone to say, oh, who's the best MMA fighter in the world? Oh, that's Kayla Harrison.
Are you hoping to expedite things so that you can be the one to beat Cyborg? Like, do you ever think of that?
I mean, I've just moved my whole life and, set up shop at one of the best training facilities in the world. So I'm definitely trying to.
What a story this would be if Cyborg versus Ronda never happened, and here comes Kayla, the Olympic gold medalist twice, the only American to win the Olympic gold in judo. You're the one who dethroned Cyborg. After all that talk of Cyborg, don't tell me you haven't thought of that.
I want to be the best there ever was. So if that means I have to fight Cyborg and beat her, then that's who I'm going to fight and beat. Am I ready today?
No.
No. But
how
will
long
I
do you think it takes for you to get ready for someone, given your background? Because you're not some.
I don't know. Listen, I'm not like I don't care. Like I don't think everybody is beatable. Everybody has a weakness. Everybody has holes in their game, and I think that with the right coaches, the right preparation, and the right game plan, you can beat anybody. So I think it's just
you watch her. I'm assuming, right?
Yes.
You see holes in her game.
Yes.
Yeah. Like what?
I just think we're two very different fighters.
Sure.
Like
which is a good thing. How would you fight her?
I mean, I'm not in charge, so I wouldn't say how I'd fight her. My coaches would.
Okay.
They say jump, I say how high.
I would do this.
Well, I just think I don't know. We're just different. I'm mostly a grappler, so obviously I think, and I don't see her grapple that often. I don't see anyone make her grapple that often. So I think, I don't know.
Wow.
I'm excited to meet her. I hear she's really nice.
She's very nice.
So I'm excited. Someday.
Meet the real Cyborg, not the online Cyborg. She's a little different online.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know. Everyone's different in MMA than what they say they are. You guys are all so.
You guys?
Yeah, they're all
painting me with the same brush as these?
Very much so.
Wow. What is that supposed to mean? I feel like MMA has welcomed you with open arms for the most part.
No, absolutely. I'm loving it. I'm telling you, I take back everything I said after the Olympics. Like,
you were
there is a lot of trash talk, and I do hate that. But other than that, MMA's been, even just the people I've met, and everyone's been so helpful. Everyone really wants to see me. Well, either that or there's a lot of
fake people.
No,
I think you've done TV work. You were well received.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah? Will you continue to do that?
Yeah.
Are you going to do the June 7th one, or is that too close?
I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
My number one priority is the fight, so I just have to get prepared for that. I've also never done it, Like, I've never even had, like...
Is there a chance you just hate this and never do it again after June 21st?
Yeah, there is.
Is that a possibility?
There is.
Wow.
I won't do something if I hate it, that's for sure, because life's too short.
Right.
But...
What would you do if you're not doing this, if you're not training for this?
I'll probably just focus on my foundation and maybe teach judo, or I don't know. Okay. I don't know. I feel like I'm meant for something more, though, so...
Right. More than doing just that. Just pretty damn
I just put it down. I put it down. I didn't mean it like that. I just mean, like... What's the best way Kayla can help her foundation? be the most talked about athlete in the world.
Okay, that's the goal. Why not? I like that. That's a pretty damn, big goal, but why not?
Yeah.
And do you feel like PFL is the right place for you? You're happy with, the pay, the contract, you're happy with everything?
Yeah, they treat me really good. And I think that they're going to treat a lot of fighters really good. It's something that I'm excited to see is it's more about it's making it a real legitimate sport. There's playoffs, there's, a postseason, then there's a championship. And every year there's a new winner crowned, So you're not like doing this whole like, oh, will they fight? Will they not fight? Is the champ going to show up? Or are we going to have to give the belt to somebody else? No, like every year there's a tournament. And at the end of the year, the best person gets the title and $1 million. Do
you know when your tournament will be?
Hopefully 2019.
But do you, like early, late, middle?
I don't know.
Do you know how many fights you'll get before you get a tournament fight?
My contract is for 4 fights, so I really want to fight as much as possible, as fast as possible. So
you'd like to fight multiple times in 2018?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
At least 2, I would imagine?
Pushing for 3.
Okay,
at
wow.
least. Yeah.
Making up for lost time.
Yeah, it's been a long time, I want to get in there. And I mean, for me, like the biggest thing too, like in judo, if you fight and you lose a tournament, like it's okay because next month there's another tournament.
Right.
Like you just get into that habit and into that fight mode. And like, for me, one of the things that I fought as an Olympic champion, I fought like probably 50 or 60 matches a year, which is like none of the other Olympic champions were made to do that. My coaches made me do it, but it also, like I was relaxed in every final because I was so used to being in a final and so used to feeling that pressure and so used to like having the lights. Like that becomes your place of comfort. That becomes like your normal, So the more I fight, the more normal it's going to become, the more dangerous I'm going to become.
Well, I wish you the best.
Thank you so much.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I had fun. Thanks.
Yeah, I really appreciate you coming in.
You're quite the chatter, though. Boy, I have a movie premiere I'm supposed to go to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm going to be late.
Jeez,
I don't want to say anything, but
what's the premiere?
It's called The Tale, and it's actually a documentary about sexual abuse. I think it's gonna be on HBO. It's an HBO special.
So here I am thinking, wow, we just did such a great interview, and in your mind you're like, when will this guy shut up?
No, that's not what I thought at all. But I have to be there in like 20 minutes.
Okay.
I gotta go change.
Okay, much respect.
Thank you so much. Thanks, guys.
Bye. Good luck to you,
Bye.
June 21st, and good luck with the book as well.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay.
I'll send you a copy.
Please, thank you. There she goes, Kayla Harrison, the 2-time Olympic gold medalist, who said that I was quite the chatterer. How about that?